much, Speaker, Deputy President. We note the peace agreement signed by the parties to the negotiation. in
Closer
South
to your mic, please. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
no, thanks. We note the peace agreement signed by the parties to the negotiation in South Africa to permanently silence the gun and end the 2-year conflict in the northern part of the Ethiopia. Subsequently, the parties met in Kenya and a deal was signed to start implementing the truce. From the presentation to the AU, the situation in Tigray requires humanitarian support, and this has been frustrated by the conflict. Will there be the consideration to prioritize humanitarian support as part of the peace agreement? And will South Africa, as part of the AU, contribute to the humanitarian support if requested? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I don't think we've got a choice. We are part of this family, which is the continent. Anything that affects the family affects us. You remember that we have deployed troops in a number of areas in the continent in pursuit of peace. This is a very expensive exercise, but we do it in the interest of the continent, in the interest of pursuing peace. We have supported South Sudan until we reached an amicable resolution to their problem. We have supported them with all humanitarian efforts that you can think of. And even in this case, if we're called upon to do so, we will, because we regard this as part of our problem. Because we are part of the AU, we're part of the signatory that says we must silence the gun, we must work, all of us, collaboratively to end conflicts in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable D. Bergman.
Deputy
Thank
President, the Democratic Alliance supports South Africa on this wonderful achievement. And as we have said before, South Africa should be using their post-apartheid Madiba magic to spread reconciliation, human rights, and peace. But you must agree, we seem to be far more successful and intrusive when it comes to areas further away. Whilst we have MPs being beaten up in jails in Eswatini and opposition politicians being beaten up in Zimbabwe, what is your cabinet doing to ensure that what we have learned now in the Ethiopian election war is going to be prevented from taking place in SADC countries? Thank you.
I thank you, Honorable Bergman. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thanks for the question. The Honorable Member must, appreciate the fact that as the African Union, we have created platforms and institutions that are meant to deal with conflicts. It's not going to be based on the whims of a particular country at any given time to jump into the affairs of another country. All of us are guided by the African Union and its institutions. So the situation in Mozambique, it's under the directive of the African Union. That's why we've participated. Under the directive of SADC, these are platforms that we must respect. We cannot act in isolation as a country. We must act within the collective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable M. Sengwa.
Madam Speaker, humbly, I requested yesterday that when using these mics, I remain seated. I'm too tall, Madam Speaker. So with your permission, if I may remain.
Okay.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. In light, of course, of the fact that the Eritrean forces have been amongst the major aggressors in the conflict, yet were never mentioned by name in the agreement, nor were they party to any of the peace negotiations. Do you have full confidence, while we applaud the agreement, that the agreement will be sustainable and viable and meet the outcomes in which it is intended for, considering that not all the players are there? But on top of that, Honorable Deputy President, you've touched on an important factor of us being a family, and Ethiopia is not rid of all its problems. Right now, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam matter, which affects Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt, remains a problem. And it may pose a humanitarian crisis if not resolved. So how are we actually assisting in resolving that particular impasse as well? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Shengwa. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thanks to the honorable member for the question. The biggest challenge that is facing the continent is that we should start to respect ourselves. We must respect the structures that we've created as the continent. Above all, what I'm trying to say, the African Union must be respected. There is no one who's going to act outside of the African Union if we are to achieve development, if we are to achieve peace in the continent. So I'm happy that this kind of an agreement is reached within the auspices of the Union, and it is facilitated by the Union. Therefore, there are all possibilities of a success because it is supported by the entirety of the African Union. So I hope it will succeed. I once participated in one conflict in South Sudan, supported by the African Union, and it has succeeded because we were led and supported by the African Union. So this very same agreement, I think it will last. If you look at the former President Uhuru, he was a neighbor. He understands all the parties that are in conflict. If you look at former President of Nigeria, a very seasoned leader and very respected in the continent. If you look at our Deputy President, Mlambo, very respected. So it's not by chance that we've managed to reach this agreement. It's because of the capability of the African Union and its people. It's high time that we should not undermine ourselves. That's why I said, let's allow African solutions to our African problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kwang, NLS Kwangwa.
And in Zanga Speaker, so I will stand. The second issue, Speaker, is DPs ngamagwala kule nto ekhiya deployment awuyenza kahle nizawuqesha impanga ezingamaziyo urhulumente wenu. President, the UN-backed investigators and the Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia reported that it had reasonable grounds to believe that in several instances there were widespread violations, human rights violations in northern Tigray region amounting to war crimes and crimes against humanity. The experts listed a long list of horrific violations from extrajudicial killings to intentional starvation, rape, sexual violence, and sexual slavery perpetrated on a staggering scale. The question is, while we commend this agreement and while we are happy that there will be an immediate cessation of all hostilities, but people who committed human rights violations need to be held to account at some point.
Thank you.
Are we going to have that discussion? Is your government going to facilitate
thank
the
you.
discussion in future to ensure that people
Time
held
is
to
up.
account for violations?
Thank you, the Honorable Deputy President.
No, thanks, Honorable Speaker, and thanks for the honorable member for the question. Definitely, as I said from the main response, that the work of this team is proceeding, and from here onwards, the African Union is going to take over and chair a committee that will ensure that the work of reconciling that community proceeds. But at the heart of this work, people have lost life, people have been displaced, they are everywhere. Somewhere, there should be a point where this nation, this community is reconciled. So there should be a platform where the truth will be told about what happened so that fully fledged reconciliation can happen. There can't be reconciliation, repatriation, if the truth is not allowed to be told. In this case, the country has lost a lot of people have died. So they'll have to go through that painful process of telling the story of how people died, so that reconciliation can then happen. So I don't think we'll sweep this matter under the carpet. This matter we'll have to discuss if that community must eventually find peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. Question number 21 has been asked by the Honorable R.N. Cebekulu to the Deputy President. The Deputy President, the Honorable
Thank
Deputy
you.
President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The history of our struggle for freedom and democracy cannot be told in its entirety without paying tribute to the bravery and selflessness of our military veterans who sacrificed their lives for the cause of freedom, the freedom that we enjoy today. Since November 2020, the Presidential Task Team on Military Veterans have had continuous provincial consultation with various military veterans associations in order to solicit concerns and grievances of military veterans. In this regard, we have made tremendous strides, especially in the socio-economic support, housing, and pension benefits. Through these consultations, we were able to consolidate the concerns of military veterans on a variety of issues, including but not limited to housing and pension benefits. The consultation have also assisted us a great deal in understanding the challenges that are faced by our military veterans on a day-to-day. We have also established different work streams that are drawn from cross-sections of government departments and provinces. These work streams are specifically tasked to streamline certain service delivery nodes. These work streams are the legislative review work stream, pension and benefits, database verification, cleansing and enhancement, heritage, memorialization and burial support, socio-economic support, organizational design, and communication. Furthermore, the Presidential Task Team has held consultations with premiers and representatives of military veterans in the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, Free State, Gauteng, Northwest, Mpumalanga, Western Cape, and most recently in KwaZulu-Natal. We're also planning to visit the Northern Cape before the end of November. During these consultations, we have discussed ways through which various provincial stakeholders could better support the Department of Military Veterans in ensuring that quality services are provided to our military veterans. We have also agreed on the necessity to develop a coordinated framework that is located within the offices of premiers so that the affairs of military veterans across provinces could be best coordinated at that level. In relation to progress toward the delivery of socio-economic benefits, including that of pension and housing, the Presidential Task Team has established a socio-economic work stream and tasked it with the responsibility to facilitate the provisioning of pension, health, education, economic empowerment, and housing benefits to military veterans. In this regard, it is important for the House to note that the provisioning of military veterans' pension has already been prescribed in the legislation. It is in pursuance of this legislative provision that the task team on military veterans approved the payment of the military veterans' pension, which led to the National Treasury to allocate funds for the current financial year and the 3 outer years that will come. We must thank government and the Minister of Finance for this step. In order to facilitate payment of this pension, we've tasked the Department of Defense and Military Veterans to finalize the enactment of the prerequisite regulations that are necessary to guide the payment of this pension benefits. The legislative review work stream is yet another important work stream, which is tasked with the responsibility to develop implementation plan that are aimed at addressing policy and legislative shortcomings. This includes gathering submissions from the very same military veterans community to ensure that this military veterans amendment bill is amended with the views and concerns coming from military veterans themselves. In this regard, the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans has emphasized the need to review the narrow definition of a military veteran and the enactment of policies that will set the qualifying criteria for beneficiaries. It is also important to note that military veterans who had one or other reason been omitted for the military veterans database are currently undergoing new verification process. The database verification panel, which is responsible for the verification task team, has already visited Gauteng, Eastern Cape, and Limpopo. Currently, there is a total of 44,369 military veterans whose details are contained in the certified personal register who are already qualifying to receive benefits as prescribed in the legislation. There are also 1,225 new applicants that have been assessed by the verification panel. The department is also busy establishing an appeals board that will provide those that are not happy with the outcome of the database verification team, give them an avenue to lodge an appeal. The provisioning of the housing benefit to military veterans is regulated by a housing policy that has been approved by military veterans themselves. According to this policy, military veterans are eligible to receive a house of 50 square meters. It has come to our attention that in other cases, different provinces offer military veterans with houses of higher meterage, different, some small. As a presidential task team, we continue to encourage provincial governments to conform to national norms and to build houses for military veterans that are of the same standard. With regards to the provisioning of healthcare benefits, all military veterans can access support from the South African military services. Currently, it is only military veterans and not their spouses nor their dependents that are eligible for assistance. This is a challenging situation which is receiving our attention. In addition to the work we've outlined above, the Department of Military Veterans is working with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture on the program of repatriating the remains of the fallen military veterans that have been left in other countries. A cost-effective model for the repatriation of the remains of our fallen heroes and heroines is currently being considered for cabinet approval. Working together with military veterans will hopefully provide positive results that contribute to their well-being and their socio-economic improvement. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you. The first supplementary question will be asked by Inkosi R.M. Tebekulu.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo. Hlonishwa Sekela Mongameli. Usuyichazile indaba yakho. Kodwa ke okusalayo umhlonishwa kungekudala sibone sosha KZN ase eqhwage ihostel ahleli kulona linokungcola okwesabekayo ehleli lapho kuyavela ukuthi umbango omkhulu ukuthi onke afuna ukunikeza amathenda okwakha lezi zindlu uzohlala kuzona. Ngifisa ukukwazi mhlonishwa uma ungatshena nje lendlu nezwe lonke yini umnyango oyenzayo ukuyongena lesa simo la khona abantu bakithi behleli khona endaweni enobungcolo kwalolu hlobo nanokuthi ke basizakala kanjani odabeni lokuthi bakwazi ukunikezelwa insizakalo zabo kunokuthi beqhube nokubanga lapha ya uqhwaga lela hostel elingcole vele. Ngiyathokoza.
Siyabonga mhlonishwa. The Honorable, the Deputy President, sekuyithuba lakho.
Ngiyabonga. Ukuphendula lo mbuzo loyo ngoba ke ngivela khona eKZN. Iye yavela indaba yezindlu. Ngiyathemba benisibona kumabona kude ukuthi siyesaba matasatasa lapho. Singazwani. Umhlangano wase uthembisa ukuchitheka. Kodwa ke saphinde futhi sazwana saqhubeka. Indaba enkulu okufuna siyazi thina sonke singabantu base South Africa ukuthi asihloniphi imvelaphi yethu. We don't respect our past. And as a result, we don't respect these people that fought for freedom. I found out in all the provinces, these people, they're suffering. In KZN, some of them are sleeping under the bridges, some are sleeping next to the sea. These are special people that at one stage took it upon themselves to step forward and fight for our freedom. And I thought we should respect them just for that decision that they've taken in their lifetime. I found that we don't accord them the same respect. And some of us, we thought and we're thinking that this freedom just came from heaven. This freedom was through a sacrifice of many of our people. Some paid the highest price, some died. Now, if all of us can respect that understanding, I think these military veterans will be treated with dignity. I mean, this is a community that is not expanding, that is not growing. It's a community that is diminishing. So I don't see us as a country really having a problem to give them the necessary dignity that they deserve. I found out that the squabble there, where people invaded the hostels, it was not because they wanted tenders to build, they wanted a shelter. They wanted a place to live in. They've been promised houses many a times, money was not spent, and somewhere this money was put in a separate account so that it's not returned to Treasury while they're resolving their problems. This time we're going to work with the province and the Department of Military Veterans and ensure that the houses are being built. We've got confidence in the provincial government and the MEC for Human Settlement that these houses are going to be built. But I'm saying these people can be seen to be rowdy. They're not getting their benefits according to the Act as it stands now. That is their source of concern. They are treated as a by-the-way case. Every time for the little thing that they must get, they must fight. This is the situation that we're trying to correct. It's a painful situation. Some of them are dying. They don't have a house. They've spent their beautiful life in the battle trenches, in the forest. They're coming back, they're old, they don't have any pension. They don't have any livelihood. I can tell you it's a very sorry sight. I met them, talking to them. It's not a pleasing situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable T.I. Lisuma. You are not T.I. Lisuma.
No, I'm RWM.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Honorable
much.
Lisuma.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy President. Section 3(1) of C of the Military Veterans Act of number 18 of 2011 states that the registered military veterans must be subjected to a means test to ensure that they qualify for the stated benefits from the state. This is to ensure that the system is not abused by chance takers who are not necessarily military veterans, and that the aid is provided to ensure those in need. Has the Presidential Task Team raised these clauses or this clause during the interactions, as you stated earlier on, with the military veterans community and other stakeholders that have got a role to play to ensure that it's being implemented effectively by the Department of Veterans? Thank you very much.
I thank you, Honorable Lisuma. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. Maybe what we must state, it's a debate that we took very extensively in the task team, that the pension that we were debating about, this question of the means test came in to say there are people that were once military veterans, were in the bush, who fought, and today they are working. Some of them, they are speakers, like the one behind me. So they should not get this pension. I don't think this is a correct understanding, because this pension is given to people on the basis of their recognition of what they did. Whether this person is gainfully employed elsewhere, but he or she must get this pension because it's a recognition of the service. So this is the understanding, and that is the clause that we're going to amend in the act, so that this means test must be put aside, because we are recognizing that this person at one stage was a military veteran. And even the manner this person is going to be buried is going to be different. His or her grave is going to be marked. It will be different from all other graves. So because of the service they provided. That's our thinking as the presidential task team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you, Deputy President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Marie.
Thank you very much, Chair. Deputy President, it is now more than 10 years since the Military Veterans Act was adopted by the department, but the department is still struggling to fully implement the act, which failures has a negative impact on rolling out of benefits to military veterans. Another challenge facing the department is the failure to fill critical positions, especially under socio-economic support services. While the Deputy Director General post was advertised on 28 January this year, and the Chief Director General position on 25 June this year, to date, no appointments have been effected. As the chairperson of the Presidential Task Team, what have you done to ensure that these and other vacancies are filled without further delay? Can you give us a time frame when this will be done? If not, how do you see the department delivering on your promises to the military veterans? I thank you.
I thank you, Honorable Marie. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It looks like Honorable Murray is one of the military veterans. He knows very well what's happening there. He knows very well. Well, that is the situation. Correctly speaking, that department was existing in a name. It was not functional. That is why you hear the beneficiaries are now standing up in arms, wanting their services. That is why the president appointed this task team, because of the failure of the Department of Military Veterans to dispense the services. Now, we were subjected to a situation where we must listen to the military veterans, which is a process that has taken us too long. They were fighting amongst themselves. It took us time to calm them down so that we can sit and discuss. Some of the military veterans have moved out of their recognized associations. They formed other associations and they want these associations to be recognized. But in terms of the act, we only recognize certain number of associations. It's a matter that we're dealing with. We're talking to everyone who's a military veteran without exception. But it's difficult if you don't understand the scope and scale of the services that must be provided, the scope and scale of the problem, the extent of the problem, for you to be able to design an organizational structure that would be fit for the purpose. So, as I was reading the work streams, there's one work stream that is busy with the organizational design. Because this organizational design must know exactly, this is what we must cater for in the structure, this is what we must cater for, so that we deliver the services to the military veterans. Whether we should create a section in the Department of Military Veterans that will deal with housing, that will deal with health issues, that will deal with socio-economic empowerment. That will depend on the problems that we find out there. Then we come and design a structure that will suit the needs of the military veterans. I think now that we're taking the last lap, we'll be able to finalize the structure, then we'll advertise all the posts, we'll make money available so that we fill this post. We're going to fill this post with people that have got the necessary skills to serve the military veterans. As we're talking now, I don't think the people that are serving there, they've got the best interests of the military veterans at heart. Because we're taking an extra effort of a structure that is appointed by the president to assist a department, to assist people that are getting a salary on a daily basis. Very unfair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Matias.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Deputy President, the time you spent to answer this question confirms the importance of the people and the people that you're talking about. These are people that understands the concept of cadre deployment as a military concept. And you spend a lot of time in addressing the plight because you know the role that they play in agitating society and get it right or get it wrong. Honorable Deputy President, sitting next to me here is a widow of a military veteran, Tony Mare. Nita Mare, as she sits next to us. The Military Veterans Act number 18 of 2011 stipulates that the state must roll out free access to military health services. The military health services have been downgraded to a level where critical operations cannot be performed in military hospitals. And most of these services have been outsourced.
Honorable Member,
That has become too expensive. The question to you, Honorable Deputy
time is up.
President, is with the tax.
Time up,
you are-
Honorable Member.
What measures are you taking to ensure that the state of desperation that the military veterans find themselves is attended to with speed immediately
Here's a gallo.
and spending and not
Honorable
so
Member.
much on the plight of these former soldiers? It's an important matter.
We know it's an important matter, Honorable Member, but when I say your time is up, please, please. Thank you, Honorable Members. The Honorable Deputy President.
No, thanks, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Member is correct. The health benefits of all military veterans are provided by the Department of Defense. That means every military veteran must use the military hospital. But there are few military hospitals. That means you must catch a bus, go to Pretoria, to a military facility. Now, we found that to be very cumbersome for military veterans. Now, this is a discovery that we've discovered as we're consulting with military veterans. And we then propose a memorandum of understanding with provincial departments, which hospitals and clinics are under their jurisdiction. So that we say to the premier of a province, this number of military veterans are going to be provided services in your hospitals. And then you're going to bill the Department of Military Veterans for any services that you have provided to the military veterans. Now, this is the kind of an arrangement that we want to make because it will be very difficult for military veterans, all of them to go to Pretoria for all the services that they want. Because that is the head of office of the Department of Defense. We are entering into an agreement with provinces. Provinces must now build the houses. Must build the houses. We are going to give them money to build the houses, and we stipulate the time so that these houses must be delivered on time. The third part is that what we're discovering as we go is that this community is getting more and more every day. There are people who are claiming to be military veterans who are not military veterans. Hence the verification process. We're starting with the verification process. They storm in and disrupt the verification process, but we are going to put our foot down. This is going to happen, like it or not, so that we can serve these people that we must serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Question number 22 has been asked by the Honorable W.W. Vessels to the Deputy President. The
Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Reports of municipalities unable to fulfill their constitutional mandate generate our concern and call for a collective actions to improve the lives of our people under the jurisdiction of these municipalities. In this way, the 2021 State of Local Government Report says that Kopanong local municipality is one of the municipalities that has been deemed dysfunctional and is facing many problems with service delivery administration, financial management, and governance. According to the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Kopanong local municipality owes Bloom Water 550 million rands, resulting in a 30% water restriction being imposed by the water board. Subsequently, the municipality is unable to service its debt and has resorted to water being rationing to control its water supply. As part of a targeted intervention, the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency has started to drill boreholes in areas such as Madikhetla, Tromsbeck, and Springfontein, with completion expected to be at the end of this month. We hope these projects will bring the required relief to the affected areas. We've further been advised that the municipality is presently unable to pay salaries, and they do so consistently. The inefficient collection of revenue is directly to be blamed for the financial difficulties faced by the municipality. Because of this, the municipality has not been able to function as well as it could. As a result, the municipal grant have been used to pay salaries. To this end, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Minister of Water and Sanitation are currently consulting with the Free State Provincial Government on whether to invoke Section 139 of the Constitution together with Section 63 of the Water Services Act for targeted intervention in the water and sanitation affairs of the municipality. In order to fix this problem, in the meantime, National Treasury has issued a directive intended to prevent financial bailouts for the municipality. The Free State government has also decided to implement Section 154 of the municipal support in Kopanong, which includes the following initiative. A technical advisor stationed at the Provincial Treasury was appointed in October this year under the Municipal Finance Management Program to support the municipality. The Department of Culture has seconded the senior officials to stabilize the administration, to act in the positions of the municipal manager, chief financial officer, and the director responsible for corporate services. The provincial treasurer will continue to provide support through training on revenue, budget, accounting practices, supply chain management, risk, and internal audit matters. Furthermore, the South African Local Government Association will provide councillor support, capacitation, and financial management. This is in addition to the measures that include the municipal infrastructure support agents, seconding a professional engineer and a professional town planner to the municipality for the technical support. We hope this support will eliminate the backlogs in the municipality funding and implementing water projects from its budget. All these measures are aimed to help the municipality to turn around and are likely to deliver positive outcomes over time, given that the political and administrative leadership are committed to correcting the identified difficulties through national and provincial support. However, we should emphasize that municipalities must use the money they are allocated to them effectively and efficiently for the intended purposes. If not, there should be consequences for their actions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable W.W. Wessels.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will take that question on behalf of Honorable Wessels. Honorable Deputy President, let me sketch you or draw you a little picture of what is actually going on in Kopanong. You've mentioned that water supply has been throttled by 30%, but the towns in this municipality has been throttled for the last 5 years. There are towns that do not have access to any water. There's no water in their taps. You've mentioned the problem with the salaries. All indications are that they will not be able to pay salaries even up to the end of the year. So there is no service delivery. The Jagersfontein disaster recently occurred, and you know about that. So what there was, there is not anymore in terms of service delivery. So what I would like to know, Honorable Deputy President, is you've mentioned inefficient revenue collection, for instance, as a reason, but you can't have revenue collection if you don't deliver services. Many plans have been mentioned, but are there concrete timelines for specific targeted services to supply to these residents of the municipality, and where is the urgency in this? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Wessels. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think the problem of that municipality has been ongoing for some time. Now, what has happened is that the Free State government has deployed officials, and National Treasury has deployed officials. Now, it's not enough to deploy officials if services are not being rendered. Electricity, it's a problem in the municipality. Water, it's a problem. And I've said the municipality is owing the water board, it's owing ESCO. Now, these institutions, these public entities cannot continue to provide these services if they are not paid. So there is a commitment through the intervention of national government, COGTA, and the province, and the deployment of senior officials to take over the municipality and direct the affairs of the municipality to ensure that the little water that is being given out is paid for. The leadership that has been deployed there to go and fix the problem. I can see you are very happy when I'm talking about deployment. Yeah, the leadership has been, to use the correct word, the leadership has been transferred from the Department of Cocta provincially to the municipality. This is not a new appointment. All these people that have been seconded to the municipality are already people that are working, but they are meant to go and support the municipality. Now, what must happen is that
Order, man, order.
this leadership must turn around the municipality. That means as they provide services,
Roman,
they should start collecting revenue. This revenue that they will collect, it will be staggering because they are starting from zero. They're starting from zero, but they must start paying the money that the municipality owes to the water board, the money that the municipality owes to ESCOM. We agree, honorable member, that this municipality, together with almost other 65 municipalities in the same category, they are dysfunctional. Now, the cause of this dysfunctionality is at the leadership level. The infighting between the mayor, the troika, mayor, speaker, and the chief whip in some instances, which trickles down to the administration. Now, this is a problem that the Department of Cocta has identified. We are attending to these leadership problems, and some of these leaders, their parties must take responsibility. It's not all of them. It's not all of them that belongs to the ruling party. Some belongs to other parties. Some belongs to the Democratic Alliance. Very disruptive situation where vote of no confidence are being passed, the mayors are being removed, they come back. That has destabilized the services that must be rendered. Thank you very much.
I thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The second supplementary question. What's wrong with you now? Honorable member, order. How order? The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable D.R. Direko. What's wrong with you, Honorable member? No, come on, stop it, man. Honorable Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thanks, Deputy President. From the fact that has just been provided, it shows that Kopanong local municipality is technically bankrupt. So I would like to check with you that, is there any plans in place to assist that municipality to recover financially and also to increase its tax base? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Direko. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, honorable member, there is no free lunch. Wherever you can go, there's no one who can just provide you food for free. You must pay for the lunch. A municipality, it's a business. Municipality is a business. They provide you services and you must pay for the services so that they can maintain and continue to provide this service. They can't just give you the service and you don't pay and you hope to receive the service again and again. No. Which means what is going to happen is that these people that have been assigned to go and turn around the municipality, they are going to ensure that they fix the revenue collection. Whether it's metering, they must start collecting revenue because there are businesses that are receiving these services. There are businesses that are receiving water. There are businesses that are receiving electricity. They must pay. They must be metered and they must pay. Then in that way, gradually the municipality will come out of its debt. That's the only way out. But government does not have an open-ended pool of money just to throw in without people paying for the services. No. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Esqua Hube.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Deputy President, I'm actually glad that you mentioned the issue around stability in local government. We know that it is common cause that local government across the country is ultimately broken. This has been because of years of mismanagement and corruption, mainly by the ANC. The greatest tragedy, Deputy President, is that local government is closest to the people who need services the most. And so considering the prevalence of local governments across the country and municipalities and metros that are falling into coalition governments and the sentiment that they are here to stay, it would seem to me that it is important that we stabilize these governments for effective delivery and free people from poor or non-existent services like we have in Kopanong. In your efforts to assist the president in the implementation of the rapid response intervention on service delivery, would you and your party support legislation that is introduced in parliament to stabilize coalition governments for effective service delivery?
Thank you, Honorable Member Kwahube. The Honorable Deputy President.
No, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm not going to dismiss this one. It's a point that I think we must think about, because I've seen this thing very disruptive. As parties, we can't govern together. All the coalitions that we've set up are not working. Today there's one mayor here, tomorrow the mayor is not there. It's not stable. Now, that affects the people that we lead. And we're all here as parties. Why can't we govern together? Why can't we govern together? I just want to understand what makes us to fight there. If it's not the people, if not the services that we must render to the people. So it's not a question really of the governing party, because in instances where we're governing together, we're failing also. So it's a political problem that we must resolve amongst ourselves. Because at any given point, there will be a leader, there will be a party that will lead. And those that are supposed to be in the opposition benches, they must be in the opposition benches, because the people have decided so. So, I welcome an idea that is going to be debated, but it looks like our people are not getting the necessary services that they need because of us fighting every day. There's no uncertainty in these municipalities, in these metros, and our people are suffering. If you go around Joburg, if you go around Tshwane, if you go around Ekurhuleni, sewer is spilling over in the streets and people are fighting. Unacceptable. 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 I don't want to say who's governing those municipalities, because I'm not here to apportion blames. Not here to apportion blames. I'm saying local government is an area that we must collectively fix. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Thank you. The last supplementary order. What happens in this house after lunch? Is it that people have had tea, coffee? Honorable members, order. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Matias.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Deputy President, last week in this House, Minister Dlamini Zuma indicated that in total, there are 66 municipalities in this country that are completely dysfunctional. These municipalities can't provide any service to the people. And in some cases, such municipalities are Mahlatini municipality in the Eastern Cape and Kopanong municipality in the Free State, where the Jagersfontein town is located. These municipalities have struggled to pay salaries to their own employees. These municipalities need a comprehensive strategy to root out corruption and incompetence and ensure that they are financially stable. What interventions, Deputy President, has the government made to ensure that it roots out corruption, brings back stability and functionality in these municipalities, particularly ensure that actions should be taken to address the funding problems that are the core of rural municipalities? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Matias. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The 66 municipalities that have been dubbed dysfunctional, we've identified the problems. The problem ranges from political interference, irregular appointments of people in those municipalities, interference in the procurement processes, poor service delivery in those municipalities. So the list is long in those municipalities. But the proposal from the Department of COCTA is that utilize the district development model as a platform that you can intervene in these municipalities. Pull this municipality at a district level so that in a district, if there are 4 or 5 municipalities that are dysfunctional, you pull them together and deal with them at a district level. Now, these municipalities, you help them to plan, you help them to manage their finances. I'm talking about things that are happening now. And we're able to monitor them at the district platform. And we hope that these municipalities will get out of this problem. But again, we want to insist that political parties, because we're talking of political interference, political parties must desist from interfering. Now, that will help these municipalities to get out of this dysfunctionality that we're talking about. The issues have been identified. They're all man-made and they can be fixed. So if all these municipalities can cooperate with the Department of COCTA, with all the officials that have been deployed to assist them, this kind of a multidisciplinary approach can help these municipalities to get rid of their problems. But this will require all of us as political parties to come together and save service delivery. Service delivery, our people deserves better. All of us must stand up and defend service delivery, be on the side of service delivery. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. Question number 23 has been asked by the Honorable T.B. Munyai to the Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. HIV and AIDS and TB remains a key health challenge, particularly for our country, which still carries one of the highest burden of the epidemic in the world. We are, however, encouraged by the strides we have made in our national response to end HIV and AIDS and TB as a public health threat by 2030. The implementation of our national strategic plan for HIV, TB, and STIs 2017 to 2022 has had a positive impact in combating HIV and AIDS in the last 5 years. To date, South Africa is the largest antiretroviral treatment in the whole world. That has resulted in a significant increase in the people who are living long. As at August 2022, 90% of the estimated number of people living with HIV, they know their status. And 76% of those people who know their status are on treatment. And 90% of those people who are on treatment have suppressed their viral loads. That means they can live long. Despite the progress we have attained to date, however, Honorable Speaker, we remain concerned with the high rates of HIV infections among young people, especially adolescent girls and young women. These new HIV infections occur in young people between the age of 15 and 24. And according to the Tembisa 4.3 model, in 2019, there were roughly 14,000 new infections in young males and 55,000 infections in young women. In this regard, the South African National AIDS Council launched a national youth HIV prevention strategy for South Africa in June 2022. As a 3-year youth HIV prevention campaign that focuses on the integration of key health and social services and youth development programs, social and behavioral change, communication, mobilization for increased access to and improved the quality of health products and services. The campaign's ultimate objective is to reduce by 40% the prevalence of HIV and sexually transmitted infections among South African youth, primarily those between the ages of 15 and 24, particularly among young women. We're also implementing a targeted social behavior change program, like You Only Live Once, which aims to provide a secure and a supportive environment in which young people can safely engage in conversation about HIV prevention. These conversation platforms allow young people to learn, share their challenges and perspectives, and receive assistance where required. I'm happy to have attended one of these sessions and listened to young people talking about this. The establishment of youth zones within our facilities have contributed to ensuring that we broaden access to services targeted at young people. Youth zones are dedicated spaces providing a suite of services to young people who visit our facilities to interact with health professionals. These services include, among others, reproductive health, safe sex, and risk information, HIV testing, treatment, as well as mental health, as well as substance abuse support. Despite South Africa being acknowledged internationally for its positioning and responsiveness to human rights, the National Strategic Plan admits that there are still large gaps to be overcome in the full implementation of the human rights agenda, particularly for key and vulnerable communities. In response to the disproportionately high prevalence of HIV among key and vulnerable population, SANAC has developed a national sensitization training which aims to reduce stigma and discrimination against those who are HIV positive or TB vulnerable. This is meant to make it easier for them to access justice and redress and foster an environment that upholds and protects their legal and human rights while preventing stigma and discrimination. In collaboration with our partners, this program has been rolled out in provinces to ensure that implementers are sensitized. In addition, explicit inclusion and support of needle and syringe services in the country's national strategic plan is another hugely important intervention that we've done as SANAC. The Global Fund 2018 baseline assessment indicated that people who inject drugs experience stigma and discrimination behavior from healthcare professionals, which creates a barrier to accessing HIV and TB treatment. For this reason, we've focused a holistic support to ensure that people who inject drugs have access to services, given the fact that they are at high risk of HIV infections. Indeed, we have made strides. There has been some impediments in our efforts to reduce HIV infections in the whole country. This includes the COVID-19 pandemic that has hampered our ability to reach the 1990 UNAIDS target. This has happened especially during the hard lockdown periods. The interruption of service delivery, especially in KZN province, due to the April 2022 floods, has also had a negative impact on the entire country's performance in terms of HIV response, since you are aware, all of you, that KZN has the highest number of people living with HIV in the country. Gender-based violence and femicide also continues to be the main contributor to the increasing number of HIV cases. Together, we must fight this plague to promote healthy and cohesive communities. Stigma and discrimination at various levels of delivery in the health system also remain a major impediment, especially for key and vulnerable population, including people with disabilities, sex workers, and people who inject drugs, among others. The fight against HIV and AIDS can never be achieved without considerable effort, hard work, and dedication from all of us. It cannot be achieved without human agency and change in our behavior. It requires all of us to pause, think, reflect, in order to ensure that regardless of our station in life, regardless of our age, our class, our gender, we must all take responsibility for testing for HIV, testing for TB, and other ailments. It is for this reason that the SANAC, we've been holding a series of engagement with all civil society. We have interacted with interfaith leaders. We have interacted with traditional leaders, traditional healthcare practitioners, and the private sector in particular, in addressing the social barriers and structural barriers, social determinants that are causing the spread of HIV and AIDS. It is in working together, Honorable Speaker, that as a country, we can make the necessary contribution towards the global goal of ending HIV as a public health threat by 2030. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable T.B. Munyai.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, David Mabuza.
the female adolescents, girls and young women between the age of 10 to 19 make up to 12.67% of the total population. This is a worrying challenge. The UN AIDS 2018 estimated that the global number of female adolescents, girls, young women, and women living with HIV globally are at 19.1 million, making it more than half of the global infections. The 4.4 million of the infected female adolescent girls and young women are South Africans, constituting almost 23% of the global average. There is approximately 1,300 newly HIV infected female adolescents, girls, and young women in South Africa per week. What are the identified critical factors creating this anomaly? And how will our 2023-2028 strategy comprehensively target this age group going forward? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Honorable Munyai. The Honorable Deputy President.
Are the rules?
No, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I agree with the Honorable Member. This is a problem. Our young people, more and more, are becoming infected. Mainly because these are young people, they are generally active. They are generally experimenting everything in their life, and they are bound to get into trouble. But we must understand the fact that there are social drivers that are behind this infection, especially if you look at young girls. The number is very high. You'll agree with me that some of the structural drivers, like poverty, inadequate education, unemployment, gender inequality, and in our traditional communities, patriarchy is still a problem. And some very harmful cultural norms and practices that are still being practiced. That is why we had to take time to go and talk to traditional leaders so that we can save the girl child from all these harmful cultural norms that we continue to practice, especially against young girls. The main problem that is another pandemic is gender-based violence. Now, we are talking about this violence, we're not looking at the impact that it causes. That means men are imposing themselves on women. They are imposing themselves on women. They are forcing themselves into women. And of course, women are taking the brunt. That is why more and more women are getting infected. Some men refuse to use preventative measures when they conduct their sexual activity. They refuse to use a condom because according to them, it's not necessary. It depends on a society. These structural drivers depend on a society, and we can deal with this problem as a society. And in the main, it starts from a family. We've got children that don't have parents. that are leading their household, child-headed households, very difficult. We have seen many of them. Substance abuse in our communities is the order of the day. And all these are problems that are behind this high rate of infection. So it cannot be left alone to government to deal with this problem. This is a societal problem. Therefore, it will need all of us to stand up, join hands, and help our young people so that we can save our future, all of us. Saving the future of our young people, we are saving our future, we are saving the future of our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable M.O. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Deputy President, an alarming large number of people's HIV and TB treatments were often interrupted during the pandemic due to a variety of factors like ARV medication unavailability. Does this national strategic plan address this in any way, and what contingencies have been put in place to mitigate similar situations should another global pandemic or disaster arise, as very little was done during the pandemic in those 2 years in terms of availability of treatment for HIV and TB? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think all of us must admit that the COVID-19 have in a way disrupted services. Now, we've noticed that in the health department, the number of people that were collecting their drugs went down, mainly because they could not reach their healthcare facilities to access their drugs. Now, that has created a problem. We lost a lot of people during that period who defaulted, and they complicated and they died. Now, that was a setback. And we have taken it upon ourselves to extend the life of the strategic plan, which was supposed to end this year, but it's going to end next year, so that we can recover. We've proposed some strategies to recover, to test more, to reach out to those who have defaulted, and that is working. But the number is not satisfactory, because if you look at people that we have tested, 94% of our people went to our facilities to go and test, but 76% are taking treatment. Out of the 94% that has been tested, only 76% is taking treatment. This is a problem that says there are more and more of our people that are resisting to take treatment. So we must encourage them, we must find a way to follow them up so that we reintroduce them into treatment. But there's a new problem where we see young people this time are getting more and more infected. We have started some programs that I've mentioned, but these programs are not included in the strategic plan that is going to end next year. So that means in the new strategic plan, we must find ways and means and strategies to deal with this current problem that is developing, where young people are getting infected in their numbers. We must find programs that will go out and reach young people and deal with this scourge that we see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable H.O. Marais.
Speaker, it's P. Marais.
P. Marais. Yes, Honorable Marais.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, the increasing rate of HIV/AIDS infection is directly related to the growing casual attitude towards condom use, together with early sexual debates for many of our young people, and the growing trend of old people preying on young girls. Why has there been such a dramatic decrease in the government public education on HIV/AIDS and the need for use of condoms? And what message does it send to the public when we have a leader such as your Minister of Finance fondling women at massage parlors and doing that with impunity? Thank you, Deputy Minister.
No.
Point of order, yes.
Honorable Speaker, I'm rising on Rule 85. The member must raise that what she has just said through a substantive motion. She cannot just cast us and to attack the character of the minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khatebe. Honorable Marais.
Speaker, I am saying the minister was found fondling a woman.
Found, I beg your
It was-
pardon. Wait, honorable members, please don't get excited. Wait. Honorable Marais Utini, what are you saying?
Honorable Chair,
Yes,
Honorable Chair,
I'm talking to Honorable Marais.
I rise on a point of order.
Point of order, yes.
It's impossible for Honorable Marais to apply a mind to answer this question with these howlers shouting at him. Can you please protect her?
Honorable, I've
Can you please
protected.
protect her?
I am
Slash-
protecting her. That
Please
is why
protect
I
her.
said
Not
point of
enough to
order.
protect her.
I
Please
can-
protect her.
I know. Honorable Matthias, I'm protecting Honorable Marais. Honorable members, please tone down. Honorable Marais.
Speaker, at the President's in Biso, it was the same thing that was discussed in Biso, and we are still covering up when things are going wrong, Minister.
Honorable Marais, will you please withdraw what you have just said? And if there's an issue, you have information, you can submit a substantive motion, please.
Speaker, can you please explain to me which part must I withdraw?
Just which you said, which I will not repeat. Honorable Matthias, please, man, don't do that. Honorable Marais, please, will you
Speaker.
withdraw? Honorable members, what's
Speaker.
wrong? Kwenzenjani na? Honorable Marais, yes?
Speaker, the Deputy President just said now that we have a problem with gender-based violence. Here we're having the same problem of gender-based violence, and it's women that is now covering up this thing. It was in newspapers, it was everywhere, and then afterwards the case was detracted. So we need to discuss the thing in the House
I've
here.
requested you to withdraw what you have just said. Honorable Marais, I said, please withdraw.
Can you please explain to me which
If
part
you
must I
don't want
withdraw?
to withdraw, will you please leave the house?
Please explain which
Leave
part.
the house. Leave the house.
Of principle that you are
I
prepared to
did
go.
not ask you to speak. I did not give you the floor. Honorable Marais, please leave the house. Will you please leave the house?
Let them go.
No, man, honorable members, no.
Abatu.
Thank you very much. Honorable members to my right, you are not helping the situation. You're not helping the situation by screaming and heckling at people who I am throwing out of the house. You're not helping me. I really beg of you, please stop it. Stop it. Honorable members, we proceed. And it was now the Honorable Deputy President. I don't know what we are going to respond to, Honorable Deputy President, because the Honorable member has refused to withdraw her statement. Shall we then proceed rather to recognize the Honorable MD Hlengwa?
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker, Deputy President. Inequality ending approach is needed to end AIDS. During the pandemic, many people live with HIV and AIDS were not able to access health care. And even today, many people living in rural areas with few clinics and bed roles struggling to access health care and medication. Whether this Department of Health has taken steps to rectify this issue through the use of long-acting injectable. If not, why not? If so, please provide the details. I thank you.
I thank you, Honorable Hlengwa. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let's acknowledge the concerns and the question raised by the honorable member. We've all agreed that there was a disruption through the pandemic. Now, services were disrupted, especially for those people who were from time to time collecting their treatment. Now, beyond the COVID-19, we've introduced a program that go find the missing people. Because according to the figures, there are only 76% that are still remaining on treatment, while we have tested 94%. That means there's a missing link. So we must go find this missing link. But the bottom line here is that for us to really fight this pandemic, HIV and AIDS, this is a behavioral problem. It remains to individual people to take a stand to deal with their behavior. By this behavioral problem, I mean, if you are not infected, try by all means that your behavior helps you not to be infected. Prevent, and prevent. If you are young, abstain from sexual activities. But this can only, young people can only be supported by their parents. Parental guidance in such a situation is required because all these children are from a family. All these children have got parents. Parents can't stand back and say, government must deal with this problem. Whereas with adults, adults must take responsibility for their life. Whatever you do in dark corners where we don't see you, you must protect yourself. You must protect yourself. Now, people are pushing hard for government to trace people, but it takes two to tango. It takes two people to go and dance. Those people that were tracing, they've got a responsibility equally to present themselves. So our appeal, that is why we've done enough as a government. We went to communities, we went to traditional communities, we spoke to traditional leaders, but it is up to our people now. We have conducted enough public awareness campaign for our people to stand up and present themselves. Where's with our children? We've created these youth zones, we've created, you'll only live once. All these are platforms where we've created for young people to take a discussion about how best to protect themselves. But as I said, for us to win this fight, all of us needs to act together as a nation, as a society. This is a societal problem that is hampering the development of this country going forward. It is a problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The last question has been asked by the Honorable S. Gwahube to the Deputy President. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It remains our firm belief that the executive accountability to Parliament will always promote national unity and gives meaning to the public participation policy in our legislative processes. In underscoring this fundamental democratic principle, we once more affirm the centrality of Parliament in ensuring that accountability of the executive is always upheld at all times. In line with this principle, in October the 22nd, 2022, the President gave Parliament the Cabinet's response to the recommendations of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the allegation of state capture, corruption, and fraud in the public sector. Consequently, the President outlined the work and actions that has already been done by government departments, law enforcement agencies, state-owned enterprises, and Chapter 9 institutions to give effect to the Commission's recommendations, including the required reforms to prevent any future acts aimed at state capture. Certain recommendations have a bearing on the interplay that exists between Parliament and the executive branch as a result of the Commission's investigation of the role and the oversight responsibility of Parliament. Some of these recommendations, among others, are the following. Parliament must consider establishing a committee for oversight over the President or the Presidency. Parliament to introduce a suitable tracking and monitoring systems for implementation of corrective actions proposed for Parliament. Parliament to consider principles of a mandatory accountability in an act of Parliament. Parliament to consider additional measures involving the Speaker and the President to sanction non-compliant ministers. Parliament to consider legislation or rules to deal with the late submission of reports by representatives of the executive to Parliament. Parliament to consider legislative measures for non-attendance to parliamentary responsibilities by members of the executive. Parliament to implement rules to assist it further in sanctioning cabinet members for non-compliance. Parliament to put in place mechanism to prevent unlawful use or abuse of power by the executive. Collectively, these issues are crucial to the accountability, transparency, oversight, and improving legislative and executive democratic norms and practices. In response to the Commission's finding and recommendation, government departments, law enforcement agencies, state-owned enterprises, and Chapter 9 institutions are working on a wide range of interventions. We are mindful that Parliament will employ its very own procedures and processes in order to implement recommendations concerning the effective interplay between Parliament and the executive branch. This includes issues of strengthening existing oversight mechanisms over the executive. As leader of government business in this Parliament, we will make every effort to cooperate with the presiding officers in order to put the Commission's recommendations about the work of the executive and the ministerial branches into action. We'll also assist in advancing government's efforts to combat fraud and corruptions across public and private sectors, thereby improving public confidence in the value of democracy and the rule of law. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Esqua Home.
Sekela Mongameli, 3 institutions were on the dock during the State Capture Commission. Number 1, your government. Number 2, Parliament. And number 3, the ANC at large. We heard in graphic details how money meant for South Africans was stolen. This was done through strategic placing of people who were politically aligned to the governing party in key senior positions in government to facilitate this theft. We know that corruption is not a victimless crime. It robs abantu of inkonzo ezibafaneleyo. Sithetha nje Sekela Mongameli, akukho mali yokonyusa i-child grant, akho mali yokuphucula ezempilo ubuthetha ngoku, akhona nemali yokunika isidima abantwana besikolo abasafundela phansi kwemithi. That is the true cost of corruption. This is why I find it difficult to believe you when you say you don't know anyone who's politically aligned who has been hired in key government positions. It cannot be true. You are personally the chair of the ANC Deployment Committee. Siyayazi loo nto. In light of these findings, it is clear that Parliament must strengthen its oversight role over the executive. As the LOGB responsible for working with Parliament to implement the President's implementation plan, would you support the call for a portfolio committee to be established to deal solely with the Presidency to prevent this kind of abuse of public money and trust that we've seen in the past?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Firstly, I must agree with you that the recommendations and the findings, wide range findings of the commissions represent a dark side of us, the bad side of us, and of which we're ready to allow this to be exposed because we don't agree with it. We don't agree with it. It took courage from our side to say this commission must happen. We want to know because this thing must not happen in future. So there is an undertaking from our side that really we want to deal with this once and for all because it will stunt our development, it will hinder progress. So there is a commitment on our side to really deal with the findings of this commission. Honestly, not for the sake of the ANC, but for the sake of the country.
Please allow the Deputy President.
Not for our sake as the ruling party, but for the sake of our beloved country. This is a phenomenon corruption, fraud, these must be wiped out in our vocabulary. It must not happen. Irregardless, corruption and fraud knows no color,
Honorable
knows no
member,
political
please.
party. It must be fought wherever it exists. Period. Now, I'm not going to interfere in the work of Parliament. As much as I'm a member of Parliament, I cannot dictate to Parliament what to do. Because partly I'm a member of this Parliament, but I belong to the executive. I must be held accountable by yourself. And I cannot come and dictate to you what to do, how to hold the executive accountable. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, very important, but we are presenting ourselves as the executive. We are committing ourselves to cooperate with yourself, but let's allow you space to create your own rules so that you can hold us accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable B. Nkosi.
Thank you, Deputy President. Without going into details on the plan of cabinet, my comment is as follows, that the Presidency must ensure that the recommendations made by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption, and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state, once they are put in place, must contribute towards decisive efforts to enhance transparency, accountability, and openness in the drive to prevent fraud, malfeasance, and corruption in both the public and private sectors. Thank you.
The Honorable, the Deputy President. Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. We must really assure this House that as the executive will do our best to respond to these recommendations to the best of our ability. We are mindful of the past where we come from, mindful of the crucibles and the shackles of apartheid that we are still trying to get rid of. We cannot, therefore, entangle ourselves and enslave ourselves again while we're in the process of liberating ourselves from that bad past. So corruption and fraud is going to be fought by all our mighty, by all our efforts, so that this does not define the South African nation. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Deputy President. Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable S.N. Swart.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, the ACDP played a key role in the ESCOM oversight inquiry by the Public Enterprises Portfolio Committee, and this oversight inquiry was highlighted in the Zonda report as the one shining example of effective oversight and accountability during this dark state capture period. Sadly, many ANC members of that committee, including Chairperson Honorable Dorothy Ranta, were punished by not being re-elected. So it is clear that substantial changes, including legislative amendments, as pointed out by you, need to be included. And this includes legislation that protects MPs from losing their party membership merely for exercising oversight duties reasonably, as Honorable Dorothy Ranta did. But in the end, would you, Honorable Deputy President, not agree that Parliament can amend its rules and pass laws to protect MPs, but if there's no political will and strong ethical leadership within the majority party, all these steps will amount to nothing and effective oversight will not take place, as the Zondo Commission points out. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I can safely speak on their behalf. There is a commitment on the part that I belong to to really deal with this. I said when I started, it took us a very painful path that we have taken to investigate ourselves, and agree that this commission must be instituted. And we knew very well that the people that are in government is the ANC. So the commission is going to speak about us. And we're prepared to listen to that. But we're not going to allow our failures to define us. Not going to allow our failures to define us. We're going to learn from these failures and do better. We're here to learn from these failures and do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable NLS Kwangwa.
Thank you very much. One of the failures from which you should learn something deep into about Deputy President, one of the issues that in trying to strengthen oversight.
Apha uyaphuma uya kwi-virtual platform uyobhoda.
Hayi mama ndibhoxe. I-preamble.
Uphuma ngathi yakwindlu encinci kanti uyobhoxa ngaphandle. Uphi Kwangwa?
Virtual speaker.
Balekile apha. Continue, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. GP, the issue for us is really to say, for example, if you were to consider that one of the your responsibilities is the leader of government business, ministers and members of the executive really do indeed account to Parliament. But if you were to consider attendance alone without actually considering their input and submissions in Parliament, it means the focus is really procedural rather than substantive. That is linked to this issue of recommendations Parliament. Nina ingaba as member as the executive, do you actually sit down and consider whether departments name ministers consider and implement recommendations that come out of Parliament without you waiting for the executive authority of Parliament to bring those recommendations to attention, because they're intended to improve your work, also intended to ensure that government departments are indeed effective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Kwangwa. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. I'm battling to see the honorable member. I can hear the voice, but I've heard the question. Now, the presentation that was presented by the president, firstly, it's a collective presentation that was agreed by cabinet. That means all ministers, all public entities are part and parcel of this. Now, we are committed. We might have our own failures, which we are happy to improve. But as cabinet, we are committed to be accountable to this House. There is no one that will take a deliberate step not to account here. There's no one. There's no one. Now, what happens here?
Order.
What happens here?
Order.
Which is a continuous problem that we are working on with the presiding officers, especially on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, when there's a cabinet day, like yesterday, there was a cabinet. And you are starting your sitting, members will be here to answer questions at 3. But in terms of our understanding, our mutual understanding was that that day must be reserved for cabinet, so that you allow us to do our business. All the other days, we devoted to, were available to account. But we understand the pressure also that Parliament is facing, and we don't want to be above Parliament. We all of us, we serve here. We cannot pick and choose how we want to serve Parliament. But I'm saying at times there are conflicting programs. And then you see some members, some ministers not here. And at times you become hard and fast that you want a minister, not a deputy minister. I don't know why you reach that point at times. In a portfolio committee, you want a minister, not a deputy minister. That's why the president has appointed a minister and a deputy minister so that they can be able to help one another. So I beg you to accept a deputy minister in your portfolio committee, because the deputy minister represents the minister, represents the department. And is also a member of the executive. There won't be any deliberate attempt from the side of the executive to undermine this house. If we undermine this house, we're undermining ourselves. Well, I'm happy to take individual cases. And I listen to your debates every day. I listen. There are some ministers that you don't like. They are not in your good books. You pursue them even if there's no matter. I listen. I listen. And some of the ministers are being called names. I listen. They are no longer called honorable members. They are called by other names. I listen. And I think we must find a way of respecting one another and concentrate on the work of this house. But I want to assure you, the cabinet where I serve under the president will never take a deliberate decision not to serve this parliament. This parliament is supreme. We become members of the executive after, but the first call, we are members of this house. We belong here. Thank you very much.
That concludes questions to the Deputy President. I thank the Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honorable members, that concludes the business for the day. The House is adjourned.
Ikati madoda.